indeed. We shall discuss later and go straight ahead to the other story, which we tend not always to have in our minds, maybe also not enough in the media. I invite now Zakia Abdennebi to lecture to us on the question of reverse migration, Spaniards migrating to Morocco, and you have already seen her. If you had had enough coffee this morning and were all awake and saw our film, then you would have already seen her because she was one of the persons in our panel discussion in Berlin. And I am really very delighted that you have been able to make a journey again so quickly to Germany and join us in this conference today. So now the floor is yours, Zakia.
Thank you very much. So my intervention, as you said, that it will be about Spaniards who are migrating to Morocco, and I will make some backgrounds about the relationship between the two countries. First, I will talk about, in general, Moroccan and immigration. Many Moroccans think that immigration to Europe and the wealthy countries is the right decision to solve their economic problems and also to look for a better life. That's why we found about 4.2 million Moroccans living abroad, roughly 2/3 of them living in Europe. They are an important source for their country for hard currencies. Their remittances equal sometimes the tourism revenues. Last year, the Moroccan living abroad remittances rose by 7.3%. But because of the Eurozone crisis, some of them, especially in Spain and Italy, are returning back to Morocco to do small business. At the same time, they are keeping their residence permits to live in Europe when the crisis ends. They hope that the crisis ends and will return again to Europe. The European financial crisis hit Morocco's tourism revenue, remittances from workers abroad and foreign investments this year, reduced hard currency reserves to barely 4 months of import needs, their lowest in decade. While some are immigrating legally, thousands try to immigrate illegally using traditional boats. Hundreds of them drowned in the sea. A village in Morocco, for example, declared to be stricken. Dozens of young men died while trying to cross the sea to Europe. But with the strict control in borders and the financial crisis in Eurozone, the number of Moroccans trying to immigrate illegally is decreasing. The second part will be about Morocco also is a country of transit for African sub-Saharans. In these 10 last years, floods of sub-Saharan African arrived to Morocco to wait for the first occasion to attempt to reach Europe. Most of them crossed the big desert by walking. Many of them died because of the heat and hunger. Others were killed by bandits or border guards. In 2006, a huge number of sub-Saharans made an assault in Ceuta border to try to go to Spain. 6 of them died in shooting. Hundreds of sub-Saharans were living in forests in inhuman conditions near the two Spanish enclaves, Ceuta and Melilla, waiting for the first opportunity to go to Europe. However, Morocco has been under intense pressure from the European Union to do more with regards to stopping the flow of illegal immigrants to Spain. The country stepped up measures to block transit via enclaves. The second part will be about the Spaniards who are migrating to Morocco. I will talk in summarizing the neighborhood between Morocco and Spain. It's difficult. The Moroccan Berber Tariq bin Ziyad invaded Andalusia in 711. He crossed the Gibraltar Strait that bear his name, the Tariq Mountain or the Jebel Tariq in Arabic, which turned into Gibraltar. The Arabs established control over much of the Iberian Peninsula. Arabs and Moroccans stayed 8 centuries in Spain before being expelled to the north of Africa. Those who stayed in Andalusia had to convert into Christianity and to not speak Arabic anymore. At the start of the 20th century, with the movement of colonization, Spain occupied the north and the south of Morocco, while many Moroccans from the Rif region were taken as soldiers to fight beside the Franco army. According to historians, Moroccan soldiers committed a lot of atrocities in Spain, such as killing and rapes. An old soldier, 19 years old, 3 years ago, when I was doing a feature, told me while reporting, we did this because the Spaniards governors informed us that the Republicans were the unbelievers and that they were enemies of Islam and Christianity. When we took our guns and we shouted Allah Akbar, the Spaniards evacuated the streets, the old soldier added. Historians and analysts said that this impacted relations between the two countries. Today, the relations between the two neighbor countries have known ups and downs with the rise of socialist or right-wing governments. It depends. In 2002, the two countries were involved in a land dispute over tiny Mediterranean island known as Persel Island or Leila Island. It was in the period of the right-wing government of José María Aznar. But economically, Spain also is the second foreign country with investment in Morocco after France. My second part will be about if the financial crisis is affecting Spaniards and making them trying to immigrate to southern countries too. What is usual is that the Spaniards are immigrating to the rich countries like Canada, United States. Also, they are immigrating to Latin America because of the historical relations. But it was really a surprise to hear that Spaniards are immigrating to Morocco. From the feature I did on this subject, I noticed that there is a specific social class of Spaniards who immigrate to Morocco. Indeed, apart from the investors, they are retired people and people who were jobless or have limited professions in Spain. They flee the high prices, especially in the big cities like Madrid. They came to the north of Morocco, where Spanish is the second language. They choose to live not far from the two Spanish enclaves, Ceuta and Melilla. One Spaniard in the report told me only the price of lodging is cheaper than in Spain. I was talking about Morocco, of course. Once a week, I go to Ceuta to buy soap, rice, olive oil, and other goods because it's cheaper and better than in Morocco. Another Spaniard who lived with her husband in Martil, near Tétouan, in the north of Morocco, told me, we are waiting for the crisis to finish to return back home. We choose to immigrate to Morocco because it's closer to Spain, she means. Spaniard artists who immigrate to Morocco said too, life in Spain, especially in Madrid, has become difficult with the high prices. I'm making conclusion to say that history shows us that the roles can be reversed and the wealth is relative. Everything is acceptable in the time of crisis and nothing can be stable forever. The southern countries can not only export immigration, the roles might be reversed and efforts should be made to take advantage of these changes, not only in the economic and political levels, but on the cultural level too, which can be very important, as history taught us that culture sometimes might change nations. The world needs its two links to breathe, the north and the south one. Thank you very much, and I will be ready for your questions.
Is this on? Yes, it is. Wonderful. Thank you both for, I think, very different aspects of a big story. Maybe I can ask myself, when I speak to Zakia Abdennebi, and again, I tell you to look at the vitas, because she herself works for a tremendous number of different press agencies, and of course also for television and whatever. Maybe I can just ask you a question with regard to reversed migration. How do you find a way of getting your stories to the press? And do you find there are different readinesses from, if it be BBC or Reuters, or how do you get the story to various different press agencies? Do you find that they are immediately interested, or do you have to really make a story, and how do you do that? Just a more practical question.
Yes, it wasn't difficult. Sometimes I am reporting in Arabic and translating them into English with the help of my colleagues, because in Morocco, for example, for Reuters, we have Arabic desk and English desk. I am in the Arabic desk. And for reporting, it was really interesting to see a diversity of subjects and to try to cover all these subjects in different way, especially writing features. Mm-hmm.
You have also had been given prizes for your work in journalism. Do you find that, I repeat a little bit, do you find that there is a difference in, be it more the press on the one side of the Mediterranean or on the other, who are interested in questions like reverse migration?
Yes, they were very interested in this.
On both sides?
Yeah.
Or do you find that there is a difference?
Yes, I think all the both sides were very interested to this, and for me it was just reporting and trying to show the real image of these things. So, in each time I'm discovering things and trying to report it and to transport it to people.
Okay, maybe I come to Lorenzo and also ask the question, with your very, very interesting work, do you find that media are immediately interested, or are they not so interested?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yes, well, yes and no. I mean, I think there was a kind of strong interest from the part of the media about this specific story, right? Because
as a story.
As a story, exactly. And this is what usually happens, right? There is like a very, like, it becomes a kind of highlight, and then of course, you know, it's taken into it's, you know, tomorrow's news is no news, right? So it just becomes yet another story, and the kind of structural problem, the systematic, you know, problem that I was pointing at the beginning. So the death of 13,000 people in the Mediterranean since 1988 is somehow completely out of the picture, right? It just becomes a kind of exceptional case which is not like, discussed. And I guess, I mean, part of the work that we try to do as well was also trying to, work with the media and some of the media, right? So we have been in contact with for instance, the journalist of The Guardian who wrote this article, and with journalists in Italy and in France and in other places. In a way, I mean, this idea of forensic oceanography, right? I mean, it's forensic. I don't know exactly how you translate it in German. I don't even.
Very similar.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's basically, I mean, and I guess immediately when you hear it, you think about these kind of CSI stories of like the people who go on the murder scene, etc. And of course, I mean, this is one of the traditions, right? Of this, like, it's the idea of like scientific knowledge entering a courtroom, right? But in a way, I mean, forensic etymologically really comes from this idea of a forum, right? So from this idea that there is a space in which people gather to discuss certain issues, right? And in some way, I think our use as well of, we try to reflect a lot on the use of different forums, right, that we could take in our work, right? So on the one hand, there is the courtroom, right, so the legal case itself, but at the same time, I think this wouldn't make sense if there wasn't other forums, like the media, for instance, in which these topics are discussed, debated, etc., right? So it's also a kind of way of asking the question where, which forums do we need to address these questions properly, right? Or, I mean, not there is a proper way, but like what, how can we gather and discuss these things, right?
Is this more a structural problem that we have, the sort of investigative journalism, especially when it's on processes and not just stories? What would your experience be? How can we try to find the line to get the two together? Because I think this is a structural question, which maybe I look at Mr. Sambonini, that we have stories which have our story of today, but the problem has not been changed, or it even gets worse. We can have many examples also in environmental questions where it has a hype for a certain time, and then the problem has not been solved. It may have got worse, but you can't find anything for a certain time in the media. What would you say about the connection between storytelling, which is necessary to raise awareness, and at the same time investigative journalism? What can we do to get more attention?
Yes, we should, I think that journalists should investigate well and try to understand, to contact people in each time, and to make sure that the story is the same, and is clear that people are telling, we cannot say people are telling the truth or not, but we should make a comparison between what they are telling and what the ideas, the first ideas we have before doing the investigation. Mm-hmm. And also there are the problem of stereotypes. It's not, sometimes the stereotypes are local. Yes. Before doing an investigating work, we should try to eradicate some stereotypes, especially with people who are contacting. I don't know if I have to give some examples, or because while I was reporting, for example, feature in Morocco about African sub-Saharans who are living in very bad region in Morocco, in slum cities. Yes. They are living in slum cities. So when I went back there, I went into a house where Africans were living. For example, Moroccan people are looking at me badly. They look at me badly. They thought that I'm doing bad things. and because they are Africans, and we have no, even if Morocco is in Africa, yes, we have these stereotypes. It's very really difficult to.
I think that is a question which we also don't often realize, that of course between the Sub-Sahara and Morocco or Maghreb, that there we also of course have the same kind of question which arises here with stereotypes, but also with discrimination. Yes. And with quite serious discrimination against Black Africa.
Yeah, and it has links with illiteracy also in Morocco, and a lot of things really are connected. And in each time we should try to go on those stereotypes, to do more and to do a good job, and that's.
Thank you. Our last question, and then I'll open to the public. With all the technologies of forensic oceanography, what about social media? Do you have the mobile telephone videos being put more or less straight into media? Are you looking at that? Are you evaluating that? Is there feedback on that? Do we suddenly reach other areas of society through putting these things straight onto online?
We are definitely looking at social media as well. I don't think the idea is, again, not always to put more things online, or let's say to shed more light, right? I mean, as I was trying to show, there's precisely this kind of ambiguity, right, in which also every kind of human rights works is faced, right? A sort of paradox of this idea of, okay, you bring more visibility to something, but which in the end could backfire, right? That could become a way of, okay, also now the Italian police knows that migrants are coming this way or are taking the boats from this way, right? So there's always a kind of issue of what do you want to reveal and what do you want to keep hidden, right? Of course, I mean, this video circulates enormously, right? And images and information about migration circulates really on an impressive scale through social media and through thousands other ways, right? And it's somehow like informal networks that somehow sometimes emerges and sometimes remain hidden, right? And I think, I mean, the role of technology here, as I was showing, I mean, with all this technology, European states themselves cannot know what migration is, right? And I think, I mean, this is not like a limit. I mean, this is not something that we should say, oh, now we need more satellites, we need more, because, it's impossible. It's basically about, like, the human decisions of doing something which is never, you can never contain, in a kind of technological apparatus somehow, right? And therefore, and I think this is like the important thing that we should also highlight, right? And keep as a kind of political lesson perhaps about what migrations are, right? What migration is and what we can do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Somehow, sorry, technology, I mean, it's not like this a solution to all these things, right?
Does it change perceptions?
Of course, I mean, it's not that what you were saying, but I'm just saying, because sometimes when I present these projects, people really either get really fascinated by the technological part, or they get really pissed and angry about this idea of like technology and saving the world, right? Which is not what I'm saying and what we are saying in a way, right?
Okay, thank you. Would you like to comment? Otherwise, I would go into. Do you want to comment on social media?
No.
Yeah.
Other details, I agree with my colleague. I think social media we can take advantage of those social media, especially as Twitter, Facebook, to do more, to report, to connect people who from very far, and we can ask people. But I don't know. I'm not sure about the credibility. Mm-hmm. If, for example, to do an interview about with Facebook in people who are joining Facebook, we are not sure that he's the same people who are writing or another. So we should be careful about this. Yeah. Very careful. Yeah. But sometimes there are some informations which are very interesting, and we can be sure about this. So we can ask people we know, or people they are in front of us, or something like this. But connecting people from far, it's difficult.
Okay, thank you.